and welcome to our week 12 video. We're moving now to take a look at the final paragraph for when you write an essay, which is what we're going to end up doing. So if you, sorry, I'm just checking to make sure I didn't turn off the camera. Anyways, I hope everybody is doing well. Remember that, again, we're coming to the end of the semester, so if you're feeling a little bit stressed or having any difficulties, please do contact me. We're going to talk this week about conclusion paragraphs because the same as when you write any paragraph, you need a conclusion. The same is true for when we expand and move to essays. Which is what you're going to do this week. So what I'd like to do first is take a look at slide number 2. So slide number 2 is to look at the first part of this week's PPT. So the PowerPoint for this week, the first part is, of course, to look at ways for us to improve our writing. And I think it's really important for you to think about your own writing and how you can make your own writing better. So this is, of course, why we do this every week, because part of your job is to take a look at your own writing and find a way to make it better and to make it look much better. So what I'd like to do now is take a look at slide number 3. Now, of course, I'm going to move on fairly quickly, but what I'd like you to do is take a look here. So how can we improve? So your assignment was to choose 5 adjectives, to write their synonyms, and their antonyms, right? So words that were the same in meaning, and words that were opposite in meaning, handima. So what I'd like you to do is take a look here. I've just chosen a few examples, but there were a number of students who didn't seem to think about this too carefully. But remember that we use language to express what we want to say. So if you're choosing words that don't actually say what you mean, you're miscommunicating. You're communicating ideas and meanings that you don't actually want. So anyways, let's take a look and see if you can see any way that you can improve on these 4 choices. Alright, so I'm going to move on to slide number 4. So again, if you want to, if you need a little bit more time, then what I'd like you to do is to write, to pause the video and take a closer look. Now, I was just trying to put the slide number in there, but for some reason that didn't work. So, okay. Anyways, what I'd like to do now is take a look at slide number 4. So this is a way for, these are ways that we could have improved this. So usually the adjective for tall, which is, a tall person or some object which has a high height, the opposite would be short. So although I can get the idea of what you're saying, remember that we use synonyms and antonyms to express our meanings clearly. So if you say small, the opposite of small usually is big. So be careful that you're matching your thinking, your meanings, with actually the words that are the same. And sometimes remember too that we can't directly translate from Korean to English or English to Korean because the meanings change. Number 2, which is something that we discussed in last week's video, is when we're talking about something that's inside, an adjective to describe something we feel inside, or when we're talking about something that's outside of us. So if we use this ing ending, so something that is surprising, it's outside of you. So perhaps you hear, for example, it snowed in I'm from a city called Toronto, and it snowed near Toronto at November 1st. So perhaps that would be a surprising fact. Or a synonym we could use would be astonishing. Astonishing is actually much stronger than surprising, but that's okay. It still has the same idea. But the opposite of surprising would be disappointing. So we want to keep the same ending is what we're looking for here. If you say disappointed, remember the ed meaning is inside. So I would feel disappointed if it snowed. So thankfully we're here in Gwangju and it is not snowing. Our weather is actually, it has been beautiful the past few days. Number 3, we have good, fine, and bad. Now originally this student had chosen good's opposite as being dislike. So actually that's not true. So what we're looking for here is the opposite of good would be bad. So, you know, something that tastes good or something that tastes bad is perhaps what you were looking for. I feel good, I feel fine are both possible. The opposite would be I feel bad, maybe if you feel sick. Number 4, we have hungry, and then you have starve. Now this was interesting because usually to starve something is me doing it to somebody else. So like for example, if you have an animal and you don't feed them, you starve that animal. So I'm inclined to say what perhaps the student was looking for is, you know, I'm hungry, because usually when students write, they write about their own hunger. So if you feel hungry, that also you can say I'm starving. Now the opposite of hungry, of course, is not fool, which I thought was very cute. So please, please, please watch your spelling, because of course the student meant full. So watch your spelling, and I would think watch your pronunciation as well, because usually your spelling comes from how you pronounce the words. So full is a short U sound, not oo with the 2 O's. Anyways, moving on to slide number 5. So slide number 5 is our second step in our correction process. So I tried to separate them into steps. Basically, we got 4. So the first number here, number 5, is for the slide number, because for this particular design, that's where the slide numbers go. So in this case, for slide number 5, we have our number 2, week 10, how can we improve slide. So here we have a number of titles and first sentences. So what I'd like you to do in first detail sentences, what I'd like you to do is pause the video, look through here and see if you can find some really simple ways to improve on this writing. Go. Okay, now of course I'm going to move on, but please take the time to stop and try and figure out how to make this better, because part of this exercise is also for you as future teachers to think of ways that you can help your future students improve their writing and their speaking, because essentially we're using writing as a means for you to have more time to think about what you would say. So we're using the idea of writing a presentation and giving a presentation is the theory behind this. So anyways, moving on to slide number 6. So if you look at slide number 6, this is our week 10 second step, which is our how can we improve. Now we're moving on to much better. So for much better, if you take a look here, essentially what was missing is the articles. So remember that when we're using titles, if you want to talk about one person, we need to say so just a general person. And of course here that because it's one person and you chose the adjective interesting, now we have to be careful and add un. So an interesting person, and the second one, an interview with Jisoo or with whomever it was that you interviewed. Now I will add a tip. If you add prepositions, if you have prepositions in your titles of, the, with articles, prepositions, and they're in the middle, not the first word, not the last word, but they're in the middle of, for example, with here, as long as it's 5 letters or less, 6 letters or less, you do not need a capital. So if you want to be very, very high level, then you can follow that rule. But I would also accept all caps for all of the first letters of each word in a title being capitalized, because that is the simplest point we want to make. Number 3. So if we take a look at number 3, again here, we had her happy childhood. Now, remember that in English, when we refer to her, that means we have already given a name. But in the title, we can't begin with her because we have not had the opportunity to give the name yet. So we would just say, a happy childhood. And remember, please, also that, of course, for your titles, we should be using capital letters, of course. You know, you are becoming experts now. You can, you know, tell your future students this is what you should do. Number 4, we're taking a look here at, now, if you talk about a childhood of a friend, then you would say the childhood, because your friend only had one childhood. So the childhood of my friend, but this is rather awkward and it's quite long. So I would suggest, even better would just simply be to reverse the order and say my friend's childhood. Number 5, remember again that if you interview someone's childhood, your childhood cannot be interviewed because it's a noun. So what you want to add is you want to add in about. So I interviewed Jisoo about her childhood. Number 6, remember that when we use a comma, the next letter should be small, unless it's a name. So most of the time it will be a small letter after a comma. Something that I noticed a lot of students like to do, and of course I understand why, but it is incorrect, is that they like to use 2 past tense verbs, or they use 1 past tense verb, was or did, and then the second verb they use present tense. Actually what we need to do is combine. So instead of was grow, we would use the irregular past tense verb grew. So first, comma, small s, she grew up in Incheon. Number 7. So if we take a look at number 7, I have interviewed my friend Jisoo. You could use, but I think actually what you're trying to say is just that you interviewed your friend. So you have no need to say have. Have means I don't know when, but sometime before now. But actually you know when you did it, so I think interviewed using simple past is more, it's probably more efficient, it's a better, clearer usage. Don't forget to add the person's name, because a lot of students just say he or she or his or her, but they never mention the student's name of who it was that they interviewed. So please remember, right away, first sentence, introduce who it was you interviewed. So I asked her who took care of her when she was young. So now this works. So don't forget, please, you must write the name first. And then you can say his or her or, you know, him or her afterwards. Number 8. There was also a lot of confusion with pronouns. So if I'm a little worried about students using translators, I know it's easier, but actually you don't learn anything from using your translators, and furthermore is you're actually putting a lot more pressure on yourself, because if you follow the steps that we're taking very small steps to start with, and now we're going to start taking a big step, moving to an essay. But pronouns basically are when you're talking about yourself or when you're talking about other people. So I versus he or she or they or we, these are all pronouns. So in this case, I asked my partner if he liked going to school when he was young. So we're going to put when he was young at the end, because at the end is actually the secondary information. The most important point is that you were asking if he liked going to school, and you want to refer to what school it was that you were interviewing him about. And then the student wrote first, he said it was good because he played with his friends. So remember, you're talking about your partner, not yourself. Because we started off with, he said it was good, and then we stopped. And then there was another separate sentence, because I can play with my friends. So this is not connected, but we need it to be connected. So remember, a long time ago, I think it was probably week 3, no. Anyways, point being is we have studied this. You should not be writing a period and then starting with because. Because in English is a connector. Remember, English and Korean in this situation are different. We cannot start with because if we do not have the reason why in the sentence. So that's it there for very simple ways to improve your writing. If you follow these, simple corrections, then your writing will improve dramatically, and you will become expert English writers because you already write beautifully. I mean, I really love reading all of the assignments that you have done. They're very cute, and I get a good chuckle out of it. I do laugh because some of them are very funny, very good. But we do need to improve. And remember that because you are going to be examples for your future students, we also need to find simple ways to help our young students to improve. Anyways, moving on now to slide number 7. So this is our third step for how we can improve on our writing. So what we're going to do is I would like you to take a look through and see if you can figure out some ways that we can improve on these. These were our sort of second and third detail sentences that I was looking at. So pause the video now and have a look. Okay, I'm going to move on. So again, of course, do take the time to try this. I've just picked out a few sentences when I saw errors that were repeatedly made. So if you can fix these sentences, that means you can fix your own writing and make your writing that much better. This is especially important because now we're expanding. So we've moved from a paragraph, now we're going to move into essay. So week 10, so we're now on slide number 7. Once again, I'm going to move now to slide number 8 for our corrections. Now, this is something that I commented on in the past couple weeks of videos as well. This seems to be, I'm not sure why, but it is said that means that people say that, but it's not true necessarily. But actually what you're saying here is true because you conducted the interview. It is fact. Your partner said these things to you. So actually what we want to do, if you take a look at slide number 8, which again is our third step of week 10 for making it much better, making your writing much better, is instead of saying it is said that, just say he said. He said that his father bought a bicycle for him. Perfect. It's lovely and it's very true and it's a simple statement. That's what we're looking for. Number 2, he wasn't a good student. Okay, so we're talking about our partner. This is because I smoked at school because I smoked at school when I was in high school. So we have a few issues here. The first thing is, who are you talking about? Are you talking about your partner or are you talking about yourself? So I thought this was quite cute. I assumed that actually if you're talking about your partner and saying he wasn't a good student, then you're supplying a reason for why he was not a good student. So what you're saying, I think, is this is because your partner, he smoked, and then we've got at school mentioned twice, but actually we don't need to mention school twice, just once is enough because it's very clear. This is because he smoked when he was in high school. I think your pronouns should be he. So do be careful. To me, this says that you are using a translator. And if I think you're using a translator, I will ask you a lot of questions when we're in the speaking test to assess whether you're able to actually use language as well as you should be able to. So remember, this is why we're practicing. Anyways, I'm sorry for the noise, but they're doing construction out front of our building. So anyways, moving on now to number 3. Okay, so once again for number 3 is we have this, students seem to really like this starting out with "it is said that." But actually "it is said that" is used rarely. It's reported as a kind of commonsensical society value that people, you know, it is said that Koreans eat kimchi. Possible, but that doesn't mean every single Korean person eats kimchi. Point being is, it is said that is usually something you refer to that it used to be considered truth, but it might not be. Anyway, so I think what the student is saying here is just that it was fun to find out about the past. That's it. Just, you know, just regular, straightforward. The teacher this kind guy hated while attending school was a science teacher. Okay? And again, we have "it is said that" we don't need it. And why did he not like this teacher? This is because you could actually specify whether it was a male teacher, or a female teacher, is because they is also acceptable nowadays though. They gave him homework that was too difficult. Not you. I'm pretty sure it was not you who's conducting the interview, who's interviewing the other student who had the difficult homework. So remember again, we're trying to connect these ideas. And instead of saying too difficult homework, in this case what we want to say is we want to focus on the homework, and then we want to describe why the homework is the focus. It was homework that was too difficult. Looking at number 4, don't forget your articles. When we're talking about students, when we have our count nouns, and remember English loves count nouns. We use 80% of our nouns are count in English. So please get used to using those articles and check yourself. Just go back and look for your nouns. When he was an elementary student, you could say, I think if you add school, it supplies much more information. When he was an elementary school student, he had a strong spirit of inquiry. Excellent, lovely. I really enjoyed reading that particular assignment. It was very good language, good vocabulary. Number 5. Now number 5, you have a choice. She has lived in Yeosu. It means before she did, but she doesn't now. But actually, in the sense of this interview, I think what the student was trying to say was she wanted to add "since then." So she has lived in Yeosu her whole life, basically, or she has lived in Yeosu since she was a child. So what we need to do is add starting when. So you would say "since then," or "ever, she has lived there ever since," something along those lines. Number 6. Finally, she said she loved going to school, and again we have this issue with "because." So remember, in English we don't start with "because" unless we supply the reason in the sentence. Finally, she said she loved going to school because her school had many good teachers and friends. So we're moving on to the last one. We're now moving on to our 4th step. So the 4th step is looking generally at the shape. So let's take a look at slide number 9. This is our 4th step for week number 10. How can we improve? Alright, so what I'd like you to do is pause the video, and I think you can probably see 3 things right away that are simple ways to improve. So if we take a look at slide number 10, we can see right away that the shape has improved dramatically. So the first thing we've done is we've moved the title into the center, and so there's one step, and we've also added capital letters. So immediately this has improved. Also, remember when we use his, we have to have given the name already, which obviously we have not done, which means that we just say Kanyang 1, uninteresting childhood. Please remember also that when we start a paragraph, we always start with a space right at the beginning just to show that we're starting a new paragraph because it's very clear. So once we've finished with our first sentence or two sentences, remember that the second sentence, or actually it should be the third sentence, so we need another sentence here also. But the idea is that after you write your introduction, the next sentences come right after. We don't put them on a new line. We actually just write a period and then continue writing after the period. So as you can see here, the three things he's learned so far, period, and then at first, and actually it shouldn't even be at first, it should just be first, because remember that when we're writing, at first means that you changed. But actually what we're doing here is we're just saying first, second, third, fourth. We're looking at it like that. So first I interviewed this person about their childhood. Okay, so remember, you don't interview the childhood, we interview about their childhood. And then we keep writing, and as we're writing, remember that the sentences, they all go together. So we're not separating them into two sentences, two sentences, two sentences. That's not a paragraph, it's two sentences. So what we do is we take the two sentences and we join them, we link them up, so that we get this nice, beautiful shape. So second, the question I asked my trusted friend, and remember we're talking about something, so we need the about his favorite subject, and he answered that his favorite subject, it was Korean. When I asked why he liked Korean, he replied that it was because Korean was the subject with the best test score. Now again, we have the period, so we're going to move the sentences so the sentences are next to the period. Finally, when I asked my friend Jisoo, who always goes home with me, what his favorite snack was, he replied, oh, okay, so the was, remember that when we extend these questions and we make a question longer, for example, when we say, like, do you know, or could you tell me, we move the verb to the end of the question. So what his favorite snack was, he replied potato snack. Now, if potato snack is the name of the snack that he liked, then remember, if it's a particular name that is written on the bag, we have to write a big P and a big S. But I wasn't sure, and I'm not familiar, so I thought perhaps you meant that he liked potato snacks. Anyways, again, remember, language is used to show what your intentions are, what your meaning is. So this wasn't clear for me. So if you can add more details, then it becomes clearer, and this is what we're here for. When asked why, he said he liked potatoes and replied that the unique salty taste of the snack was good. So once again, we are going to move the sentence. Instead of making it on a new line, we're going to move the sentence and connect it, link it. So we link, it was a time to learn a lot about my favorite friend Jisoo. Now another very simple point here is we have 1, 2, 3 different ways that Jisoo, Kim's name was written. Actually what we want to do is we want to have the same style each time. You have learned it, so we should be writing it. If you want to use a hyphen, if you want to use a dash, if you want to write G-Soo, that's fine, but do it every single time. The idea is that we are making it identical, so that each time you write it, it's always the same. So, I also feel very strongly that no matter what, each time you should be using a capital letter for each part of a student's name, because your names are important, and whether you choose to use English or Korean, you should still have, if you use your Korean name, then you should still be using capital letters. And the capital letter shows people who are not familiar with Korean names where the separate pieces of your name are and how to pronounce them correctly. Anyways, moving on now. I'm just going to check and make sure the camera is still working. We're good. So we're going to move now on to the main part of our week 12 assignment. So we're moving now from 1 paragraph to 5 paragraphs. An essay. So what I'd like to do is to take a look now at slide number 12. So slide number 12 is to make sure to point out to you not to forget your conclusions. Now, an essay in English is a little bit long. I know it can be a bit scary, but you can do it as long as you follow the principles we have studied so far. Don't think about it as 5 paragraphs. Think about it as piece, 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 and so on. It will be much easier. So what I would like you to do is to take a look at these 5 choices. So what I'd like you to do is to choose one of these to write about. So number 1 is to write about the best vacation from your childhood. Think about why it was the best vacation and what made it so good. So remember, the first step before writing is to think about what you're going to write about. Number 2, write about what you do when you decide on a vacation. So how do you plan where to go? Or who do you usually go with? What websites do you use to research your trip? What do you do to plan a trip is what I was thinking about here. Number 3, if you know where you will go for winter vacation, if you're planning a vacation, write about where you'll go and what you will do there. Or it could be something that you would like, you are planning but you're not sure it will happen. That's okay, that's perfectly fine. This does not have to be 100% a plan. Number 4, write about what you're planning to do for your winter vacation. So this is if you aren't sure. If you'll notice that the tenses have changed slightly throughout because we'll use different tenses to describe our plans, what we're thinking about. And number 5 is to write about the best vacation you have ever had. So remember to think about why this was important for you. Now, the planning stage of this is important because we're going to be moving into essays. So what I'd like to do first is to review how to write an essay and what an essay is basically. So if we move to slide 13, what I want to do is to take a look back at our Ice Cream Sunday essay. So let's take a look and see, or essay, sorry, paragraph. Let's take a look and see if you can figure out what this is. So what I want you to do is to think about what the 3 details are. So I've just given you an example here. So the perfect ice cream sundae, and I have given my student number and my name in English style. So I start with my nice space at the beginning. Ice cream sundaes are delicious. There are so many different ingredients that can be used to make the perfect ice cream sundae. So we have our topic in the in the introduction. We've got our topic in the title. It's best to start with 3 different ice cream flavors. Some favorite flavors are vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. Next, sauces can be added. Ice cream connoisseurs may enjoy strawberry sauce on strawberry ice cream, chocolate sauce on chocolate ice cream, and marshmallow fluff on vanilla ice cream. As a final touch, add toppings. Chopped nuts or colorful sprinkles are a good combination. Before serving, do not forget to top with a cherry. Ice cream sundaes are a wonderful treat. So here's our paragraph. So can you find the 3 details? I'm hoping you found them. Pause the video if you want to and see if you can figure out what the 3 details are. I'm going to move on now to slide 14. So if we were writing an essay and this was our topic to talk about ice cream sundaes, paragraph 2, so we're now writing an entire paragraph, is about detail 1. So, detail 1, I'm just going to match my colors here. So detail 1 is now going to be the topic of paragraph 2. So our topic for paragraph 2 is, of course, flavors. So if you remember last week, we talked about it like a burger. So we have a bun on the top, a bun on the bottom, and we've got lettuce, tomato, and beef. So there's our burger. So I'm going to follow the same color code as what we did last week. So this is our lettuce. This is our detail 1. So the first thing we're talking about is the ice cream flavors. What are your favorite ice cream flavors? Choose 3. Okay, so I'm going to give examples using the ice cream flavors that I like. So the first step to making any ice cream sundae is the ice cream flavors. It is important to choose the 3 flavors carefully, of course, because they have to be delicious. There are many choices, but the best choice, okay, so what's your favorite ice cream, is your mom's an alien, in my opinion. It has such a pure, clean, and simple taste. It makes you happy with just one bite. The next ice cream I would choose would probably be mint chocolate chip. I like mint chocolate chip. A lot of people don't like it, but anyways, mint chocolate chip is the next ice cream. It is so smooth and creamy, it makes your mouth water just thinking of it. And the final flavor, maybe Shooting Star. I like Shooting Star. Shooting Star is kind of fruity and refreshing ice cream choice. Well, here I chose fruity, so maybe rainbow sherbet, something like that. Anyways, or strawberry. I do like strawberry too. So anyways, remember that your adjectives to describe whatever you're talking about should match that particular choice. There are many choices of ice cream flavors, but these 3 are really the best, in my opinion, of course. If you use these 3 flavors, you will make a great classic ice cream sundae. Alright, so this is just to give you an example of how to write your second paragraph. So if we move on next, can you guess what we'll talk about next? Paragraph 3. So we did an introduction paragraph, a detail 1 paragraph. So paragraph 3 is about our detail 2. So detail 2, and I'm going to use red because this is like our tomatoes, what we used from last week, would be sauces. So if we take a look, the next step to a fabulous sundae is fantastic sauces. So what sauces would you like to put on a sundae? Sauces add a really lovely flavor to your sundae. My favorite is, now in this case we have to be careful because the second sentence I use here is going to explain something that we need to think about before we choose the sauce. So if we take a look at the next sentence, it says, it is especially good when poured on the ice cream hot. Okay, well what's a good hot sauce to put on a sundae? Oh, I like hot fudge. So fudge is like a thick chocolatey sauce basically. And if you ever go to like a McDonald's sundaes, they have a fudge sundae. It's really good. Anyways, my favorite is fudge sauce. It's especially good when poured on the ice cream hot. Another great sauce flavor is, now remember, be careful because we need to look at the second sentence before we choose the sauce. And then we're thinking about the sauce, a lovely, sticky, chewy texture. So a lovely, sticky, chewy texture to me is caramel. So I would put another great sauce flavor is caramel. The caramel gives a lovely, sticky, chewy texture to the cold, smooth ice cream. And can you see I'm adding lots of adjectives in there? So it gives more feeling, more meaning to the readers. The third sauce is, so again, wait a second, let's read the next sentence and see if we can think about a sauce that matches the description. This red sauce, okay, it has to be red, makes the sundae look really pretty and taste great too. So what's a red sauce that you can put on a sundae? How about strawberry? Like a strawberry sauce, strawberry jam kind of thing. So the third sauce is strawberry sauce. This red sauce makes the sundae look really pretty and taste great too. By adding these 3 wonderful sauces, you can make a good ice cream sundae awesome. Which sauces do you like? Alright, so we're moving on now to our paragraph 4. Okay, now in this case, for my paragraphs, I did 50 sentences. So I know that you are probably starting to feel that the end of the semester is applying a little pressure for you. So if you don't want to write 10 sentences, that's fine. You can write 5 sentence paragraphs, and so that means your whole essay will be 25 sentences. So let's take a look anyways. So these, if we have our essays, okay, we're following the same pattern as a paragraph: introduction, detail 1, detail 2, detail 3, and conclusion. But this time we're writing 1 paragraph, 1 paragraph, 1 paragraph, 1 paragraph, 1 paragraph. So, first paragraph is the introduction. Paragraph 2 is about detail number 1. Paragraph 3 is about detail number 2. Paragraph 4, of course, is about detail number 3. So when we talked about the burgers, that was our beef. So what toppings would you choose to put on your sundaes? So the final step to ice cream sundae perfection is toppings. So these are the finishing touch for beauty and taste. If you like color, you can add rainbow or chocolate sprinkles. So these are the pretty little colorful ones that you can put on the top. Add sprinkles to make your sundae look ultra delicious. Another topping favorite is chopped nuts. So if you take nuts and chop them up and then add them to the top, these add a really deep flavor and a crunchy texture. The finale, a cherry on the top. You can choose a maraschino cherry, which is a kind of candied cherry, or a fresh cherry. You know, just wash your cherry and put it on top. But either way, it completes your sundae and makes it look beautiful. Toppings are the perfect ending to a gorgeous sundae. Think about texture and beauty when you decide which ones you like. So again, we've got lots of adjectives in there to add lots of details. So if we take a look at slide number 17, let's think about it. So how many paragraphs have we written so far? We have 4 paragraphs written. But how many paragraphs should an essay have? Should have 5. So what information should the conclusion paragraph contain? Well, these 2 paragraphs should be very similar in the information they give and the order which they're given in. But of course, what the key point is for the conclusion, use synonyms. Change the order of the words. Or use different adjectives. Use lots of adjectives. So anyways, moving on to slide number 18. Don't forget, please, 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 use transition words. You've been doing a very good job. Once again, these are some transition words which you can use. Slide number 19, don't forget your conclusion paragraph. This is our first practice paragraph. Remember, conclusion paragraph is your paragraph number 5. You're going to restate and summarize the information which you have given. It's very similar to the introduction paragraph, right? Because it's your top bun and your bottom bun. So you're supplying the same information, but we're doing it in different ways. It must be there. If it is not there, just think about it. You know, if you get 100% of points for one essay and you're missing 20%, that means the maximum you can get is an 80. Not a good, you know, we have to have that conclusion paragraph. Now, another key and very important point is do not give new information. If you're talking about yourself, you're talking about going on vacation to Jeju Island, or your grandparents' house, then remember that is all you are talking about. Do not suddenly start talking about, you know, if there was no coronavirus, I would like to go to Laos. Don't give new information at the end. So, slide number 20. Once again, this is your homework assignment for week 12. Please write an essay, which is 25 sentences. Use all of the rules that we have studied. Please use the transition words as we've just spoken about. Use synonyms, right? Words with the same or similar meanings. Use antonyms. Make sure that they match what your intention is, though, what you want to say. Examples are, for your first detail, you can choose, these are some synonyms for your transition words. You could choose first, or to start, or for example, or to begin with. You know, lots of choices. Use lots of fantastic adjectives. Don't forget your articles. And now our final slide, slide 21. Have a wonderful day. You know, if the weather is nice outside, try and go outside and have a walk just purely for enjoyment. So that's it. Have a great day. Bye-bye.